Here's what everybody's wondering. Is the soaring price of meat a temporary phenomenon or what Bill Gross might call the new normal?
It's temporary.
You say that with a lot of confidence.
I do, because I already see a reversal of the pricing. And as you know, once the public knows something about the commodities market, it usually starts to go the other way, like gold did. Farmers are now retaining a lot more heifers to grow a lot more feeder cattle. And by next year, we're going to have a lot more inventory. The beef industry is something that's very structured, and when they see that drought in the West, they compensate for it, and it's a capitalist market. They have to supply the demand.
Well, the the U.S. government is saying that we could actually be a net importer of beef in 2015 because of that effect of the drought in 2012, but you don't see that happening. You see a recovery next year. See,
I'm in the business of supplying restaurants, and usually higher-end restaurants. The type of beef that's imported into this country it's not what our chefs are looking for. But we've always imported beef, and we've always exported beef. Some of the richest cities around the world want our beef because it is the best in the world. The imported beef that comes in, it comes in because it's less expensive. So if there's a huge hamburger grinder out there making the least expensive hamburger for a supermarket, they're going to use imported product like imported trimmings.
Pat, for the moment, beef prices are high. To what degree is that affecting your pricing power, curbing it, or eating into your margins, or are your customers, the restaurants, eating it, or are their customers, people like me and Alex, eating it?
It's a combination. I've read a lot of articles as to the demonization of some restaurants passing along the cost to the consumers, but just like anything else, if it was gold and gold was up, you'd pay more for gold. Beef is up right now. It's up 11% from last year. Sales for this year, for the last quarter, are only down 0.6%. So people still
really hasn't affected demand that much.
No.
Are you noticing some kind of trade down, though? Maybe the most expensive cuts are no longer what customers will pay for, or perhaps a rotation into other types of protein?
Hanger steaks?
Yes.
Or
well, yeah.
irons,
economy, like
chicken? Yeah. Or chicken, yeah.
As we call economy cuts, sure.
Butcher's cuts is a
better, butcher's cuts.
Nicer, kinder word for it. Right?
That began in 2008 during the financial crash. So I've had restaurants and chefs consult with me and figure out ways to put less expensive cuts and smaller portions.
They do it across the street at BLT, right? The hanger steak is there every day.
Yeah, it's there at a restaurant like BLT. They're not lowering the quality and they're not lowering the size. So that's
they might just be raising the price.
They may have to raise the price, but a lot of restaurants have been resisting that because they're waiting for the price to go down.
Well, let's give people a hand here, though. There is no reason not to grill a skirt steak or a hanger steak.
Absolutely.
They taste great.
It tastes great.
I mean, tell people a bit about the difference between a butcher's cut like that and what they're more used to, perhaps, like a top sirloin or a strip loin.
The traditional butcher's cut was the hanger steak. It was the one muscle that, if you split the animal in half, would be damaged. And as a butcher, it would be very hard to market that. Now that they remove it before the animal split, they're able to market it better and collect more of it. So if a restaurant were to sell 100 portions a week, someone like myself could supply that 100.
Is it the most undervalued cut?
Right now, I believe hanger steak is the most undervalued cut. Skirt steak, which was at one point...
Used to be, yeah.
...was known as the Romanian steak. That's the steak you would get in a diner. The Pacific Rim especially loves skirt steak, what we call the thin meats, and they import a lot of that from us, and it drives the price up. So besides that, Americans now know skirt steak's got flavor. It's the one steak that you blindfolded, you know differently than any other cut in the animal.
I'm curious as to how much your customers and their customers in particular care about where their beef winds up coming from. I did a whole series on farm salmon and sort of where you source it, what country it comes from, what are the regulations. Antibiotics was very important in that industry. To be honest, I have no idea where the burger I had yesterday comes from.
Right. You know more about where your clothes are made and than you do where your beef is from. And I think that there should be some type of truth in menu oversight so that we as consumers can make that decision. is this burger coming from trimmings in Mexico and Canada? And then from there, where did Mexico get it from?
And
right?
what's
Exactly.
in it? Antibiotics?
I always say this, and people say I'm a nationalist. I say I'm patriotic, but I believe in our beef system, and I believe in our beef safety, and I say buy domestic.
Okay, but at the same time, Pat, you acknowledge, I mean, and we know it to be a fact, that even the USDA doesn't know where the meat on the styrofoam tray in my supermarket came from. They have no freaking idea.
The USDA does know. So if you have a circle,
they can't tell me the precise feedlot the ground beef.
Yes, there's traceability. There's traceability now in our HACCP programs. Oh, yes. There's traceability in our HACCP programs so that we can track back. So let's say there is an incident, a negative incident where you have, let's say, an E. coli positive.
We can know for certain.
We need to make sure as beef processors that we can track back where that beef is from so that we can,
of course,
recall all of that.
So then it wouldn't be very difficult.
No.
To have sort of a statement, if you will, of provenance, just like you get on the back of a wine bottle. Where does this stuff come from? Comes from this farm, was raised on this feedlot, fattened on this feedlot, was slaughtered. I mean, I don't think people need to necessarily want to know about the slaughterhouse.
Leave that up.
But you could find out if you wanted to know.
But that's only for domestic.
No, that's for anything that's processed here in the United States that has a USDA stamp on it. So if you see that circle on your package, that means most people don't know that USDA federal inspectors are in our facilities daily. There's not a day.
In your facilities?
Oh, yes.
Really?
So I'm in the marketplace where we sell to restaurants, unlike retail shops. Retail shops don't require USDA inspection. So because we sell to restaurants, and I think that the government protects the integrity of restaurants and meat supply, we have an inspector's office in our building, and we have an inspector that comes every day. And one of the tasks of money that they do, besides testing the product, is to make sure that we can trace back to that product.
So when you say you have faith in the system, you speak from experience.
Yes.